All right, we are live. We're getting started here for Tuesday. Just coming off the NCAA Indoor Championships in Boston. Just came back not too long ago. Excited to talk about some of the results, of course, in the sprint, jumps, and hurdles. I'm going to dive into a couple good results. Again, sprint, jumps, and hurdles. Some really good results across the board. Really, some big surprises as well. Some kind of underdogs who really kind of showed out that I think are really going to be continue on that trajectory when we get outdoors, right? Continuing on with that momentum that they were able to put down. I really like this indoor NCAA championships, and I think that there's a lot of people who are going to be making some impact outdoors. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Brianna Lyston. She said that she's trying to make a name. She's trying to be in the conversation as one of the greats in Jamaica as a sprinter. So really excited to see how some of these things go down as we look towards outdoors, coming off indoors. I mean, we're only a couple days off the NCAA championships. We're just over a week away out from the World Indoor Championships that happened. So there's so many people who really put down markers that are going to have some huge implications as we do go into the outdoor season. All right, so yeah, let's get started in a moment. I'll get to these quick comments here. Like I said, yeah, looking forward to Brianna Lyston. As she had a huge performance. I mean, I don't understand how amazing her performance was. I didn't even understand until I really looked into it. Shanti Jackson, yeah, we'll talk about her. It's actually crazy that I feel kind of disappointed because I almost forgot that she was competing at this meet. Considering she had a pretty good start to her season, but she competed here at NCAA's. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk a little bit about that. The 200s, the 400s, the 60s, jumps, and all that. And again, it's a couple surprises, but let's start off. We're going to talk about the men's 60-meter dash. I mean, we can kind of combine this with the 200 as well, but I think the men's 60-meter dash, Terrance Jones has cemented himself as obviously one of the greatest athletes in NCAA history. He already has the NCAA record at 6.45 seconds, which he set back a couple years ago, about a year or two ago, but 6.45. So Terrance Jones, I mean, he really showed up here. Now, in the prelims of the 60, it wasn't anything too crazy, right? 6.56, and then he followed up into the finals and ran 6.54. So it wasn't like he dropped a huge bomb. Already this year, he's run a little bit faster, so he didn't set a season's best or anything like that. But I think combined with this 6.54 to defend his title. So remember, he won the NCAA indoors last year in the 60. That was his first NCAA title. Came back here this year, won it again in 6.54 seconds. And then, of course, we saw what he did in the 200, where he doubled back. This was an immaculate performance. 20.23 seconds for Terrance Jones to really drop his performances here. If I remember correctly, I think this is his fourth or fifth 200 meters indoors ever. So yeah, so indoors, he of course been running the 60s. He ran 20.57 earlier this year, and then he went to the Big 12 championships and he won it there, running 20.21 seconds. This was a huge surprise because we saw that Terrance Jones actually did false start in the 60, though. I mean, if you watch the race, there was this loud kind of noise that went off. So I don't know if it was actually a false start, but it is what it is. He then ran 20.21 seconds. Now, the thing about here is that he was running at in Lubbock, Texas, right? At Texas Tech, at their track. And we know that that's at altitude. So people are going to say, oh, that's at altitude. Oh, you converted. It's actually 20.4, whatever it may be. But what he did at these NCAA championships really just proved why he is a force to be reckoned with. If we already didn't have those that indication from outdoors in previous years. So 20.23 seconds, his second fastest time ever, one of the fastest times. I mean, let me bring up all time if we're talking about, this is U20, but all time when we're talking about the 60-meter dash indoors, that's still one of the fastest times all time. I think we kind of underestimate how fast 20.2 is. That puts you into the top 20, right? 20.21, which he's already ran, that's number 12 all time. And then he ran 20.23, which puts him in as one of the fastest all time as well. So showing that consistency both at altitude in Lubbock, where he ran 20.21, and then also in Boston, where he was able to run that 20.23, and only for being his fifth indoor 200-meter dash time in ever. I mean, this has some really, really big implications when we're talking about Terrance Jones outdoors. Of course, we know what he's capable of in the 60. He won that here, but looking at the 200, don't forget that he got third place at the NCAA Outdoor Championships last year, running 19.87 seconds. This was the legendary kind of 200 meters at the NCAA Outdoors. Udodi Onwuzurike from Stanford, he won that. We saw like 6 guys, I think, in the heats or the semifinals of NCAA Outdoors go sub 20. Yeah, 6 or 5 guys go sub 20, which is unprecedented. So I really think Terrance Jones, he set a marker. Of course, again, in that 100-meter dash, he did his. I'm sorry, in the 60-meter dash, he did his thing. But in the 200, I think this has really, really big implications when we're talking about his outdoor season. Now, Adrian Grant. So how do you see him doing this season? I think Terrance Jones is a very, very strong threat for. Wow, I don't know. I think he's a very strong threat for a medal. It's going to be very tough, but I think he's a strong threat for a medal when we're talking about the 100-meter dash. Now, the 200 is tougher, though he's run 19.87. I do want to see this consistently translate outdoors, right? 19.87 is very, very strong, but just looking at the landscape of the 200, he's definitely going to have to step things up, especially when we're talking about the current age. So I'm just going to bring up the current, let's just go from 2021. Let's just go from 2021 to 2024 to kind of see the landscape of the 200 where it's really, really deep outdoors right now. You have everyone from Noah Lyles, 19.3. You have Arian Knighton, 19.4. Tobogo, 19.5. Mina, we'll see. Zarnell Hughes, 19.7. Michael Norman, he'll be in the 400. Udodi Onwuzurike, who won NCAAs last year, 19.76. He's a pro. Andre DeGrasse, Kenny B. And this doesn't even take into account Andre DeGrasse from 2021 when he ran 19.6. Kenny B has run 19.6. So looking at the 200 meters specifically, I think that Terrance Jones still has a little bit of a ways to go, right? We can see his 19.87. A couple guys, Courtney Lindsay, shout out to Courtney Lindsay coming from Texas Tech. He actually trains down in Florida with Dennis Mitchell and that whole Star Athletics crew. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I don't know. We'll see in the 200 how he fares. But in the 100, because in my opinion, I still think the 100 meters is kind of wide open. Not wide open, but I think probably Noah Lyles is the favorite right now, while everyone else is kind of in the mix. But I think that Terrance Jones might have a stronger shot in the 100 if he's able to really step things up and improve a bit. In the 100, his personal best is 9.91. Of course, he's going to have to get that down, a little bit to probably 9.8 low or so to be able to be in the medal hunt. Considering you have guys like Seville, you have, of course, Lyles, you have Curley coming back. Christian Coleman just won the indoor title, right? Akeem Blake was looking good indoor. So a lot of guys, Zarnell Hughes, of course, Tobogo, all these guys are really in the mix. I think Terrance Jones, if he's able to continue on this trajectory, especially with that performance in the 200, translate that into the outdoor 100 as well as 200, he could be a force specifically in the 100. He also could be one who has a huge jump and maybe he drops down to 19.7 and, drops something crazy for 19.6. One good thing is that he competes for the Bahamas, so he doesn't have to worry about significant, trials or anything like that. He could just focus on. He does have Bahamian trials, but I think he'll be safe to be able to get to the Olympic Games as long as he's healthy, as long as he's fit. So Terrance Jones, he is very much one to look out for. And again, I was very, very impressed specifically with his 200-meter performance this weekend in Boston. 20.23. He said he's still learning the 200. He is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So along with that, I do want to talk just very quickly about, in the 60, just to highlight the 60 one more time, because we did skip over the men's 60. Nothing too crazy overall. Like I said, I did want to shout out Terrance Jones, Kalen Walker, 6.59 seconds from Iowa. He's been having a pretty good season. So for him to get second place here was a really, really strong performance. Then Texas Tech kind of cleaned house between Terrance Jones, DeAndre Swint, Caleb Dean, right? They really kind of cleaned house when talking about it. Of course, they went on to win the team title. So really strong performances across the board for the Texas Tech guys in the 60. But let's quickly talk about the women's 60. So, there we go. Women's 60. So the women's 60-meter dash, this was... Again, I was a little surprised. I wasn't prepared for, how significant this was. But Brianna Lyston. So I know most of us have been following Brianna Lyston, of course, coming out of Jamaica. She's still just a sophomore here. She's still super young, only 19 years old. I think she turns 20 later on this year. But she's coming out of, I think it's Heidel in Jamaica, Heidel High School. And she was a star at the CRIFTA games, I think, and champs and all that. She came out here at LSU 7.03 seconds in a 60-meter dash. This performance is immaculate. And I didn't realize that not only is this a personal best, not only is this one of the fastest all time, but if you're looking at, let me see if I can bring this up very quickly. Top 10 NCAA all time. Oh, there we go. So all time, this brings her to, I think it's number 2 all time, only behind Julian Alfred when talking about the NCAA. She really cleaned house with this performance. And it just shows the progress that she's been making. It just shows the consistency that she's had all throughout the season and all throughout, again, coming out of Jamaica, coming out of high school. So yeah, Brianna Lyston, 7.03 seconds, makes her number 2 all time in the NCAA, only behind Julian Alfred, who of course had that legendary, 2023 season where she, absolutely dominated while at Texas. But again, Brianna Lyston, 7.03 seconds. She's still only 19 years old. She's still super young. She's rising. And after the race, she said that she wants to be in the conversation with some of those greats in Jamaica when talking about Shericka Jackson, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Elaine Thompson-Herah, right? There's so many different women, even going back in the day, Karan Stewart, Sharon Simpson, right? Let's not forget someone like Sharon Simpson, who was super dominant. She probably gets a little bit overlooked, but she got a silver medal at the 2008 Olympics. Go back to Sharon Simpson's 2006 season when she was absolutely dominating the 200 and the 100. So even if Brianna Lyston doesn't become a Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce who has a 16-year-long career at this point, she can become someone who does get a medal, at an Olympic Games or World Championships in the future. She could become someone who gets onto the team at first, right? Maybe she makes the Paris Olympic team in the relay, gets a medal, whether it's in the prelims or in the final. Maybe she runs the final, but maybe she gets a medal now, and that's just a springboard to the rest of her career. Don't forget, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce in 2007, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce ran one leg on the 4x1 at the Osaka World Championships. And guess what? The next year, she went on to become, literally at this point, she's a GOAT of the 100-meter dash. So Brianna Lyston, to be able to put down this time, still super young, still just rising. And when looking at the 60-meter dash all time, especially let me bring back the all-time list. Oops. Yeah, there we go. So let me bring back the all-time list. When looking at the 60-meter dash, she actually brings her to number 8 or for Jamaica all time when talking about the 60. And yeah, I mean, I was floored by her performance. Number 6 all time. So Brianna Lyston, number 6 all time indoors in a 60-meter dash. Actually, technically, it'd be number 5 all time because Tina Clayton and Sasha Lee Forbes, those were outdoor times. But Brianna Lyston, this was a statement. This was a huge, huge statement on what's going to be possible for her when we're looking outdoors. And then again, super young, and looking at her performances, what she did in the previous years, personal best, she still has only run 11.14 seconds from 2 years ago. So if she's already running 7.03, I mean, it's a foregone conclusion that she's going to improve her personal best in the 100-meter dash, probably get to sub 11, very confident that she can get to sub 11. And then looking at the 200, I mean, she ran 22.53 seconds into a negative 2.2 headwind, right? And I think this was at Champs in Jamaica in 2022. So for her to make this progress indoors, I mean, she's going to be a problem. And this was no fluke in terms of what she did throughout the indoor season. We saw some steady progression, 7.14, 7.07. This already was the indication that she was going to be a problem. Then she got to the heats, ran 7.07 at NCAAs in the heats, then dropped at 7.03. Very comfortable win. Very much looking forward to seeing what Brianna Lyston is going to be able to do. This, of course, outdoors in the NCAA, but then even more importantly, what are the implications for her as we look towards the Paris Olympic team? Again, I don't think, well, let me not say I don't think. It's going to be tough to see her make the individual team between Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Elaine Thompson-Herah, Shericka Jackson, but she very well could make the relay team. And that could be the springboard to her international experience that's going to bring her to, the next level, right? So very, very excited to see what she's going to be able to do. That 7.03 was immaculate. Yeah, so Good point. So I think it's possible for her to make the Jamaican 200-meter team. The 100 will be too much of a stretch this season. 10.75 is an average to make the team. Yeah, I agree, right? Like I said, between Elaine Thompson-Herah, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, Shericka Jackson, all three of them are still on another level, right? All three of them are super consistent. Shericka Jackson is just getting faster. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, even though this is going to be her last Olympics, right? She announced that she's going to be retiring after these Olympics. And even though she's like at the end of a 16-year career or whatever it is, doesn't matter. She's still running fast. She's still got a bronze medal last year. She's still capable of 10.7. So exactly. And then Elaine Thompson-Herah, we've seen that she picked things up at the end of last season. So very strong performances for all of them. But in the 200 is also, I think, going to be very tough. So let's say that at a base level, you have Shericka Jackson. And let me bring up Jamaica here just to look at the last couple of years. But let's say at a base level, you have Shericka Jackson running, Shericka Jackson. Oops, if I'm not using my mic, you can double check if the sound is not good. But let me know if the sound isn't good. But at a base level, you have Shericka Jackson and you also have Elaine Thompson-Herah, right? So those two are going to be pretty set. If they're healthy, if they're ready, they're going to be pretty set when talking about the 200. Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, apologies about that. Not sure why it sounds worse than last time. But let me see if I can fix it in a second. But Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce, she said that, I don't know if she's going to be focusing on the 200. We'll see if that kind of plays out. But then additionally, you do have people like Kavona Davis, right? You do have people like Natalia White, maybe as well. Shotty Moore has been pretty good. Lene Taylor-Thomas is one that I'm looking out for. She's been super consistent coming out of the NCAA. So I think we have a couple women who are going to be in the mix, but I probably do agree that the 200-meter team might be the better bet for Brianna Lyston. So we'll see how that plays out. So we're gonna see how that plays out. Again, gonna double check on the mic in a second and see how I can fix this up. Let me see if I can get this up and running. Well, give me 1 second. Let's see here. Oh yes, I know why it's not working properly. All right, so hopefully this sounds a little bit better. But again, when talking about Brianna Lyston, so Brianna Lyston, I think she's going to be a problem. 7.03. This was crazy. This was absolutely crazy to me. So, all right. So let's dive in and follow up and talk about that women's 200-meter dash, where we saw another great performance. And I think this was kind of an all-time performance when talking about the women's 200. Let me just get to a couple other comments. So Shericka, Elaine, Lene Taylor-Thomas, Kavona Davis, and both Brianna's, right? They're definitely going to be in the mix in the 200 there. Like you said, Shelly-Ann's doing the 200, right? So she's probably going to just be focusing on the 100, which would be good as she's, of course, going to be this kind of her swan song as the GOAT of the 100-meter dash. It'd be crazy to see Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce win a 100-meter medal at her final Olympic Games. That'd be crazy. But yes, remember, Brianna is a 200-meter specialist. Yep, it's true that Brianna Lyston is a 200-meter specialist. At least that's how she's been looked at coming out of Jamaica and coming out of high school. But I don't know, man. I mean, I think that she could turn into a 100-meter specialist. Considering she just ran 7.03, is it crazy to say that she can go outdoors and drop 10.9 or 10.8? Now, not saying that, she's going to end up making the team, or not saying that she's going to end up doing something crazy in the 100, but who knows? This could be a very, very big problem for the rest of the women when talking about the 100-meter dash. She could put something down very, very, very big. So we'll see. Sorry, I was just trying to fix the mic. I know I had the mic set to something else, but we're going to see. Picanis, when I see Brianna runs, I see Favor Ophelia. Yeah, they have some very similar styles, which is interesting. Favor Ophelia, Brianna Lyston, very similar styles. And Favor Ophelia is another one who's going to be interesting. She's in her first season as a pro. She competed at the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix this season indoors as her first pro meet. So yeah, we'll see. All right. Yeah, appreciate it. Had to fix it. I had it on my camera instead of my microphone, so the audio should be good. Appreciate that. Apologies about the audio issue there. All right. So let's jump over to that 200 where we saw, another dominant performance with Jamisha Ford from South Carolina, freshman at South Carolina, dominated running 22.34 seconds. In the prelims, I forget what she ran, 22.45. Jamisha Ford, this season for Jamisha Ford has, I mean, I don't know. Has been an impeccable season in terms of a freshman year season. I'm not sure I can find maybe Sonia Richards Ross in 2005, but or 2004. I forget exactly what year it was, but like you have to go back years to find someone who had such a dominant NCAA season in their freshman year. I could be skipping a lot of people, but just thinking off the top of my head, but Jamisha Ford really dominated just even before the NCAAs, right? We saw her open up her season in December running 35.83 seconds, which, if I'm correct, is number 2 all time indoors in the 300. Yep, number 2 all time indoors in the 300. In her first race as a NCAA athlete, Jamisha Ford, 35.83, almost breaking the NCAA record. And then she continues to improve, 36 flat, gets consistent at 300. We saw what she's able to do in the 400, and then the 200s just keep on rolling. 22.58, 22.36, which was I think it's number 2 all time when talking about U20 athletes, junior athletes. And then SEC's 22.36, justifying, kind of backing up like, okay, this is no fluke, right? I'm still very consistent. I'm still capable of running these times consistently. And then we get to NCAA championships, 22.45 in the heats. I mean, at that point, that indicated that she was already going to drop something extremely fast in the finals. And she did exactly that, 22.34 in the finals to be able to get the win. And not only was it the win, but that was the U20 record for, let me just bring up the all-time. That was a U20 record for, let's see here. Or I think it was actually number 2 all-time when talking about U20 athletes. Let's get 19. There we go, 1899. I think that was number 2 all-time behind Adeja Haj, who had run that's outdoors. Adeja Haj last year had run 22.33 seconds. Yep. So Jamisha Ford just missed. This is U20 all time. Jamisha Ford 22.34. Number 2, Adeja Haj 22.33. Both of them happened at the track at New Balance, which is kind of crazy. But huge shout outs to Jamisha Ford. Again, only a freshman at South Carolina, got the win in this 200 against a pretty strong field, right? Don't forget that someone like Mackenzie Long, last year, Mackenzie Long was doing amazing in the 200, both indoors and outdoors. And then, actually, I'm going to hide this real quick. And then someone like Jaden Mays at Oregon, who's been super consistent, Kalia Jackson, and then all the Arkansas women. I mean, Jamisha Ford is going to be a force to be reckoned with. It's hard to tell or hard to kind of predict what her progress is going to be when looking outdoors because she's still just a freshman. She could have some immense progress, or she can kind of maintain and remain stagnant. I don't want to say remain stagnant, but, just maybe she just runs, 22 flats throughout the outdoor season. But I think she very much has the potential to run sub 22 seconds when talking about the 200 meters outdoors. She's being coached by Tim Hall, right? She's, under the same tutelage as, Christian Coleman, Abby Steiner, right? They're all, under Tim Hall. So Jamisha Ford, she's going to be a serious, serious problem. And I think, if I'm correct, only 2 women still to this day have ever run the 200 meters under 22 seconds outdoors, Abby Steiner as well as Favor O'Feely. And so Jamisha Ford could join those ranks, right? She could join those ranks. I'll pull that up in a second, but Jamisha Ford could join those ranks as running sub 22 seconds outdoors. Sub 22 would be crazy, but we're going to see. I'm really excited to see how Jamisha Ford does. And shout out to Mackenzie Long. Mackenzie Long, again, she's been one who's been on the rise. She's a senior now at Ole Miss. So it's going to be a problem. So very much shout out to all these women. Oh, yes. Thanks. Actual random. Oops. No, my bad. Yeah. Julian Alfred as well, right? Yeah. Julian Alfred had run sub 22 seconds outdoors. Let me bring this up. Julian Alfred, Abby Steiner, and Favor O'Feely, those 3 had run sub 22 seconds in the 200 meters outdoors. So yeah, we're going to see how that kind of plays out. Yeah, Sherelle, Ford reminds me of Bianca Knight. Bianca Knight was a sensation. Yep. So just wanted to bring this up. Sub 22, Favor O'Feely, Abby Steiner, as well as Julian Alfred. Yeah, shout out to Bianca Knight. Bianca Knight was like, she didn't even run outdoors, if I'm correct, when she was at the University of Texas. She literally just ran, if I'm correct, she ran 22.40 indoors and then just went pro, right? If I can bring this up very quickly. Yep, Bianca Knight. So 2008, Bianca Knight, 22.40 seconds indoors, one and done as a freshman, went pro. She didn't have like as consistent of a professional career, but of course she was on that, 4x1 world record setting team at the 2012 Olympics. So I like the kind of comparison. It's a good note there. Yeah, nice. Yes, really sad news about Mackenzie Long's mother. But yeah, she did amazing at these NCAA championships. So yeah, she did amazing at these championships. So huge shout outs to all those women. Let me jump back quickly to the men's 200-meter dash, where I slightly, of course, touched upon Terrance Jones, but the guy right behind Terrance Jones. I mean, I know a couple of people have spoken about him, but Chekna from Penn State. This was arguably one of the performances of the meet when talking about the 200, along with Terrance Jones and talking about the sprint, jumps, and hurdles, right? Along with Terrance Jones completing the double. Also, one thing didn't shout out, I think this was the first 60-200 double since Elijah Hall in 2018. I know Christian Coleman in 2017, Elijah Hall in 2018 had done the 60-200 double. So Terrance Jones just did it now. But Chekna had dropped 20.30 seconds. Check out the interview that I did with Chekna on the Citius Mag YouTube channel, where he had spoken about how entering the season, his personal best was 22.7 seconds while he was at junior college or D3 in Ramapo. He had run 22.7 seconds indoors. That was his best time coming into the NCAA this year. Then he said that he didn't even think he was going to break 22.6 indoors or 22.4. He didn't even expect. His first race out, his first 200 meters indoors this year was 20.42 seconds. So he obliterated his indoor personal best of 20.72. Then he improved again, going to the Big Ten championships, or got consistent again, running 20.44. Yeah, my bad, not 22, 20. 22 is not on the men's side. Yeah. So Chekna, 20.44. He'd already run 20.42. And then he comes to NCAAs and drops a bomb. In the heats, he runs 20.38 seconds. Already in the heats, 20.38 seconds, improving his personal best, and he still has more to go. And then he drops 20.30. Yes, didn't beat Terrance Jones, but this has some huge implications when we're talking about outdoor season. Remember, he's coming from D3. He competed at the he competed at Ramapo College. He was super consistent. He was dominating, Division III champion multiple times over, both indoors and out. But then to come into the NCAA D1 and for him to be able to really step things up and be one of the best, it's not even like compete with the best. Like, he is one of the best. When we're talking about the rest of the season, he is going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. Sub 20 seconds is very much in the cards, just like it is for, Terrance Jones has already run, 19.8. Chekna could run 19.8 as well. He very much could run 19.8. Additionally, one thing to note is that Chekna competes for Côte d'Ivoire. So he has to get the qualifying standard. I think his outdoor best is 20.25 seconds. And then I think the qualifying standards for the Olympics is 20.19 or so. So at that point, I think he's going to get the qualifying standard for the Olympic Games. That's going to be, in my opinion, that should be a walk in the park, assuming he stays healthy. And then once he does that, he's set, right? If you're talking about Côte d'Ivoire, they have some really strong sprinters when talking about the women's side, between Muriel Hure as well as Marie-Josée Talou. But then on the men's side, outside of Arthur Cisse, you don't have too many people from Côte d'Ivoire. So Chekna could be that guy. He can really be that guy. And again, just like I said about Terrance Jones, I'm not saying he's going to be able to contend for a medal when talking about the 200. That's super deep. But for someone like him who's still on the rise, still growing, he could be a very strong force to be reckoned with. So Chekna Traore, he really put down an amazing performance. This was I think that, it wasn't a surprise yet. So like you said, so Chekna did not surprise me. He's going to be a beast. Cover was the reason he was overlooked by the big teams. That was one of the nicest moments of the championships. Yeah, I think it wasn't too much of a surprise, but I think that it's a surprise for the most of the world, right? If you hadn't known him at Ramapo, I know the coach at Ramapo. I used to go to college with him, so he'd been telling me, he'd been shouting out Chekna for some years at this point. But I think he's going to be a problem. I know I keep mentioning it, but kind of these little stories, these quote unquote underdog stories that don't get recognized. This is the guy. This is going to be one of the guys. So shout out to him and everything that he did here, and also Robert Gregory. I think in the prelims, Oh, this doesn't want to play nice with me. Oh no, Wayne McCoy. He had run 20.34 in the prelims, and that's who I was watching. He really put down a great performance, but wasn't able to translate that into the finals. But yeah, shout out to all the guys in the 200-meter dash. Amazing, amazing performance to them. Really, really love this. All right, so let's move up to the 400s, where I'm gonna be honest, I had a kind of scare here. Little bit of a scare. So, oh yeah, let me get to Darren. You said 20.16 at Florida Relays. Yeah. Well, oh, you thinking he could do that at Florida Relays, or are you saying that maybe because his personal best outdoors is 20.25? I know that. Maybe he could drop that at Florida Relays. I think he's going to drop that very early, something like that very early. So we're going to see. All right, so let's talk about this men's 400-meter dash and quickly just go through where, in my opinion, just going back to the prelims. So you had Christopher Morales Williams. He broke the world record at SECs. He ran 45.88 to win his heat. I was a little surprised. I was a little like, is this good enough? So if you remember, I think this changed a couple years back, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, but they changed it where it's all qualifying on time instead of like heat winners and then next best go to the finals. Talking about the indoor 400. So when I saw him run 45.8, I was like, is this, I mean, was that 44.4 maybe a little bit of a fluke? Was it just a one-off kind of thing? Even though, again, all you have to do is qualify, but I don't know, for in my mind, as I watched that race, I was like, this didn't look like him, but he really just showed his experience. One thing to note is that William Jones, I think I noted William Jones early on in the season. He had run, I think 45 low, 45.3 maybe. And, I thought he was going to do some damage here. I thought he was really going to do some damage. And then you had kind of all the other guys in the mix as well between Ahmad Robinson. We'll talk about him in a second. He put down something crazy. I like Javon Powell. And then, all the other guys. Brian Heron, he's been a mainstay at Texas for a bit. But as we got to the finals, despite what we saw in the heats, Morales Williams, 44.67. And this was a dominant performance. I think the most important thing about this is this proved that 44.4 was no fluke, right? That world record was absolutely no fluke. Very, very infrequently do you see guys drop multiple 44-second runs, especially in the NCAA. I don't think anyone has actually ever done that in the NCAA. And I was just pulling up the 400-meter times where multiple 44-second runs only came to a couple people. Elijah Godwin, he did it in 2023 when he ran it at SECs and then also again at NCAAs. You had Michael Johnson, of course, back in 1990, was it 96 and 95? He ran 44.63, 44.66. And then I think that might be it in terms of guys who have gone. Oh, and Michael Johnson had done it 3 times, but Randolph Ross had done it twice. Randolph Ross, 44.99 in 2021, and then he had also run 44.62 that same year, or the following year. So, but for Morales Williams to run 44.49 and then back that up with his 44.67, that really shows that is no fluke. And I think, listen, that actual random, I think, listen, you could be onto something. He might just take home a gold medal this season. I mean, let me bring up Antonio Watson, right? Just to get the 400 results from last year. The thing you have to remember is that the 400 is completely wide open. In my opinion, it's still super wide open. Now, we know that guys like Michael Norman may be coming back. We know that guys like Stephen Gardner are coming back, but still TBD, right? They both dealt with injuries. Stephen Gardner did start off 2024 on a good note, but we have to see. Nobody was truly looking at Antonio Watson as the gold medalist. Yes, some people definitely saw him on the rise. Some people definitely saw his progress, but it'd be hard to say that you predicted Antonio Watson to get the gold medal. Matthew Hudson-Smith, he's been a mainstay for a while, but so he got the silver medal there, and then Quincy Hall as well, Vernon Norwood, right? I think at the start of the 2023 season, Sean Bailey might have been the top Jamaican entering the World Championships, right? But I think this is wide open. I think this is very, very, very wide open. Christopher Morales Williams, don't forget, he competes for Canada, so he doesn't have to worry about, trials like USA's, right? He doesn't have to worry about all that. Yes, Canada does still have their national championships and their trials and stuff like that. But I mean, if he's running 44.4, 44.6 indoors, he's very much at minimum, assuming health, going to be at 44 low, like 44 flat or so Obviously, he has the potential to go 40 sub 44, but I want to see it first. But 44.67, I mean, he is essentially a medal threat. If he was competing for the United States, then I'd be hesitant to say he's a medal threat. But because he competes for Canada, he is absolutely a medal threat because we know he already is likely going to be in Paris. He doesn't have to worry about the Olympic trials. He doesn't have to worry about Vernon Norwood, Quincy Hall, Bryce Deadman, Michael Norman, et cetera, right? So Christopher Miles Williams, this was a performance for the ages. This was a huge performance for the ages, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to be able to do. Additionally, let me bring this up as this is probably a little bit better, but Miles Williams, technically he has a better 400-meter average than Michael Johnson, which is kind of crazy. Shout out to, who did I see here? You said that, what was it? I think that, Randolph Ross. So Randolph Ross has run sub 44 3 times as well. Yep. So, but Christopher Miles Williams, for him to, this is women. For him to put down this performance, I think it really, really bodes well. But just historically, looking at his all-time performances, hopefully they've updated it. Yes, there we go. So Morales Williams, 44.49. And then Michael Johnson has run 44.63, 44.66, but then Morales Williams, 44.67. So he already technically has the best, average, top 400-meter times. Obviously, when you get to the 3 best, right, he doesn't have another third one, but it's a really, really good kind of marker to put down. This is really, really good kind of marker to put down. So we're going to see how this plays out. I see a couple of y'all mentioning Stephen Gardner, right? Gardner is the guy to beat once healthy. Yes, I think so. One of the issues that we have in the 400 is that I actually don't even know, but I think that, let me cross-check. I think Michael Norman and Stephen Gardner have only raced once at the Tokyo Olympic Games, if I'm correct. That's when, Michael Norman, of course, wasn't in great form, but that it makes it kind of, it's okay. So during that 2021 season, so Stephen Gardner, as well as Michael Norman, they raced 3 times. Well, 2 times technically. I don't count the semifinals, but the Hungary Continental Tour, where Gardner got the win in 2021, and then the Olympic Games in the final. This makes it kind of hard to say, like, who is better, who's not, right? Because think about it. In 2019, Michael Norman started off the season running extremely well, and then he got injured and wasn't able to compete properly. Didn't make it to the final at the World Championships in Doha. Then in 2021 at the Olympic Games, still Michael Norman dealing with some setbacks, dealing with some injuries. But then Stephen Gardner was healthy again at that point, both 2019 and 2021. But then 2022, when Michael Norman is healthy and he wins the gold medal in Eugene, Stephen Gardner is injured. And then 2023, both of them are out and injured. So it's kind of hard. Though Stephen Gardner, of course, has the medals, he has the times, he has the accolades, it's also kind of hard to conceptualize because he's competing in the same era as one of the other great 400-meter runners. It's just that they haven't been able to go head-to-head, at the same time. So it's really kind of a strange situation. But yes, I think Gardner if healthy, is the one to beat. But then Michael Norman, if healthy, may also be the one to beat, right? They both have, I think Gardner has run 43.48 seconds, and Michael Norman has run 43.45. So it's a little bit tricky to kind of see where they're really 43.48 and then 43.45 for Norman and Gardner. It's kind of hard to compare them, but I think Adrian, like you said, Gardner is better. He wins medals. Norman only has a single gold. Yep. And I think it goes to the point of the injuries, the setbacks. Norman seems to be plagued by injuries a lot more than Gardner has been. So it makes it tricky to say, imagine Norman was healthy in 2019. Remember, he ran this 43.45 at the top of the 2019 season. He then backed that up later on. Well, I'm not going to bring up the all time, but he then backed that up at the USA Championships running 43.7. But then he got to Doha and he was injured. So I think Gardner probably is the favorite if we want to talk about head-to-heads, just considering his accolades, his medals, his consistency. But who knows? I mean, if you're going head-to-head in one race where both are healthy, Michael Norman and Stephen Gardner, who are you going to pick? I don't know. Be hard to say. But yes, Gardner definitely has the edge in terms of the consistency and the medals. But yeah, I think Christopher Morales Williams, he's going to be in that conversation. We're going outdoors. Once he drops a 43-second run, I mean, we're talking about gold medal conversation for sure. conversation. So we're going to see how that plays out. All right, and then let me get to a couple other comments. Norman's one win was still a little flaky too. It was his race to lose, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's true, because in 2022, when he did win that gold medal, Norman had and actually bring up the seasons list. In 2022, you had Matthew Hudson Smith, you had Karani James, Wade Van Niekerk was still kind of coming back. That was his first year back, if I remember correctly, in terms of like him getting healthy and consistent. Champion Allison had run. He got fourth place at the World Championships. But Karani James was always on the rise. Karani James had always been consistent. I think Karani James had finished second place to Norman at the Prefontaine Classic. And then, of course, he got the silver medal at the World Championships. But yeah, Michael Norman, 2022 was the year that, he was in the driver's seat. So I don't know. We're going to see how that plays out. Actual random, there's new talent in the 400. I don't think either Norman or Gardner are winning it. Man, I don't know. This could be a hot take. It's tough to see. It's tough to see, right? It's tough to see them. If both of them are healthy, it's tough to see one of them losing it. Even throw into the fold Karani James, where he got fifth place. He didn't. His tactics in Budapest last year weren't great. He got fifth place, but then eventually was DQ'd. But yes, there's a lot of rising talent. The only thing is we have to see a lot of these guys run sub 44 seconds, right? We can't bank on 2024. We can't bank on these guys running 44 seconds just like last year and expect them to expect them to beat out healthy Norman and healthy Gardner, right? Samu Konga is a threat from Zambia. He is a huge threat. And I think he opened up his season already running 44 mid or 44 low down in Zambia. So we're going to see. Rasheed McDonald, he's kind of on the, he got a bronze medal at the World Indoor Championships. We're going to see how that plays out. But Wade Van Niekerk is going to be a mixed bag depending on his health. Antonio Watson, he has to get under 44 seconds. I want to see that consistency from Antonio Watson before I say, okay, he is the man to beat. And then, Ryan Willie from the United States, he's going to be a problem. Emmanuel Bamadeli from Nigeria, he competed for the University of Florida. He didn't do well last year, so I'm not sure like what his status may be. I always love to see Bryce Stedman, Quincy Hall, Vernon Norwood, Matthew Hudson Smith. I want to see, he got a medal last year, but I want to see him get consistent. He got a medal last year and he got one in 2022. Let me not downplay that, but want to see him get a little more consistent as well. He needs to break 44 seconds to be in that mix. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of guys who are in the mix. Karani James is always in the conversation. I don't know where Doom is from indoors. But yeah, Elijah Godwin. I mean, so many different names. Ndori. There's a lot of guys. You're right that there's a lot of young guys, but we're gonna see. And yeah, like you said, Watson will be better, but we need to see it, right? We want to see that consistency. He is the reigning gold medalist at the World Championships, but let's see some of that consistency, right? Let's see that consistency. So yeah, not seeing it with Watson. Even after his win, I still don't see it. I saw his win, like the 2017 World Championship 200 winner. Yeah. Ramel Guliev, always the guy who's catching strays. But yeah. All right, let me get to these last few comments and then we'll jump over to the women's 400. Super proud of our Canadian boy, Christopher Miles Williams. And as usual, shaking my head at our national selectors not having him sent to Glasgow. Well, I don't know. Did he want to go to Glasgow? Because remember, he ran at SECs and then Glasgow was the following week. And then NCAA's was the following week. So I think he probably just skipped out on Glasgow to just focus on the NCAA's, right? It's like a surprise kind of performance that he had. So I'd be surprised if Canada didn't want him. Actually, let me not even say that. I spoke to a couple of the other some media outlets from Canada while I was in Glasgow, and a couple of them were like, "Yo, Christopher Miles is the guy. Like Canada really wants to put him on the map." But he went to NCAA, so I think I agree. Super proud of him. We're going to see him really put some things down. Actual random, Matthew Hudson Smith was plagued with injuries last season. I'm amazed he even made it to final. I agree. I did not pick him for a medal last year because he wasn't really doing well. Even leading up to Budapest, he wasn't doing well. But huge shout outs to him considering he's been on the circuit for years. So for him to get a medal in 2022 and 2024, huge shout outs to what he was able to do. Okay, Omar McLeod. Yes, what I really need to know is if Omar McLeod is running the hurdles this year or not. I understand he's run 9.99 in the 100, but that won't hold up this year unless it's consistent. I mean, Well, yeah, Omar McLeod. We'll see how that kind of plays out when we get to outdoor season. He's run sub 10 seconds in the 100, but we're talking back in. He's the Olympic champion from 2016, world champion from 2017. We're already in 2024. We're talking about 7 years at this point. He could come back, but I'm not going to hold my hopes up yet until I see some consistency. So we're going to see how that plays out. But with that, let's talk about this women's 400-meter dash. Women's 400, this was another kind of just like sweep by Arkansas. Amber Anning, Nikisha Price, Rosie Effiong, all of them representing 3 different countries. Amber Anning of Great Britain, Nikisha Price of Jamaica, Rosie Effiong of the United States. I think her family is Nigerian, but she's competing for the United States. She actually competed I think on the mixed relay last year in Budapest. They cleaned house. Amber Anning getting the win, 50.79 seconds. In the prelims, I mean, Arkansas had a whole bunch of other people as well, but they didn't even make it. Joanne Reed, Kaylin Brown. So they had a couple people as well, but they didn't even make it. That's a whole nother discussion though, because they were super deep, right? They were super, super deep. So shout out to all the women from Arkansas. Amber Anning, I think she has a lot of potential. I mean, all these women have a lot of potential, but Amber Anning competing for Great Britain, she is going to be a mainstay. She already broke the British national record, if I'm correct, indoors in the 400. And I apologize. I think in the 200, someone can cross-check me in the chat if she broke the 400 record indoors. But in the 200, she broke the British national record. She is going to be a problem. This is her senior year. She's likely, she said that her goal is going to be able to go to British trials, make top 2, to be able to make the Paris Olympic team. I think she's, of course, definitely going to be on the 4x4. So Amber Anning is going to be a huge, huge problem. Same thing with Nikisha Price competing for Jamaica. Jamaica in the 400 is pretty deep. They have a lot of women, but Nikisha Price could be one to really, really make some noise. So looking forward to seeing what she's going to be able to do. And then Rosie Effiong, she also has big problems when we're talking about the 400 in the United States. So many women, it's going to be so deep. But Rosie Effiong, she already proved that she can at least make the team when talking about the relay. I think she has a lot of potential when we're talking about the overall team outdoors. So very, very excited to see what all these women are able to do. And shout out to them. And then let me go back very quickly because I know we wanted to talk about, if I'm correct, let me see here. Yes, Shanti Jackson. I think maybe just being plagued by her freshman year. One thing to think about, and this is kind of going back to the 200. Oh, and yes, thanks, Raul. So 200-meter record for Amber Anning, 200-meter British record. So shout out to her. I did want to talk about Shanti Jackson really quickly, as of course she was the high school star, right? She was a high school star. She came in, she announced she was going to Arkansas, and now she's at Arkansas, made it to the NCAA championships. Though she finished last, I don't want to read too much into this single performance, right? Who knows what I didn't get a chance to speak with her at the meet, but who knows what the kind of setbacks could have been. Maybe it's transitioning, who knows what it may have been. But I still think definitely keep a lookout for Shanti Jackson. Don't forget that Shanti Jackson finished 4th place or 5th place in the 100-meter dash at the USA Championships last year. So she's a problem. Like, Shanti Jackson is still a problem. Don't let this one championships indoors dictate, what is going to happen, for the rest of her career. This is one championships. She's still a freshman. She still has a long, long way to go. So looking forward to seeing what she's going to be able to do as we go throughout the rest of the outdoor season. With that, I'm going to quickly, we can kind of like push through. I don't think there was too many huge highlights when talking about the hurdles here, but then men's 60-meter hurdles, this was just another kind of a big performance for Texas Tech. Caleb Dean, 7.56 seconds to get the win here. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with outdoors when we're talking about the 400-meter hurdles, as well as the 110-meter hurdles. And I think this consistency is going to translate very well outdoors. So excited to see how things kind of play out with Caleb Dean. Shout out to Johnny Brackens Jr. From USC. He had a very, very busy schedule between the long jump and then also, of course, the hurdles here. But huge shout out to him. Let's quickly talk about, I'm kind of running through these real quick, but I want to get to the men's long jump. I think that's going to be a good one. Shout out to Jasmine Jones. Came away with the win here, 7.77 seconds for USC. I think there's a little bit of a surprise. I don't know. I don't want to call it a surprise, but I think a lot of people had Grace Stark on their radar. Grace Stark, she has one of the most dominant NCAA early careers where she was very, very consistent. She's run 7.78 back in, I think it was her freshman year or maybe her sophomore year. But yes, her sophomore year, she had won the yes, he won the NCAA Indoor Championships in the 60-meter hurdles. Apologies, was just checking it. Yeah, her sophomore year, that was back in 2022. And then, of course, we know there was a fatal blow at outdoors where she got injured and wasn't able to compete at the NCAA Championships or at regionals. And now she's kind of been on her way back. And, you know, it's been an up and down season, up and down career over the past couple of years. But Grace Stark still has a lot of potential. For her to come here and run 7.81 seconds, apologies, let me go back. For her to come here and run 7.81 seconds, this shows that she's getting back into form. But Jasmine Jones, 7.77 is a very, very strong performance for Jasmine Jones. She won USA she finished second place at USA Indoor Championships, just behind Tia Jones. She, of course, didn't go to the World Indoor Championships. But I think she's going to be a problem outdoors. The only problem is that the women's hurdles are super, super deep. So we're going to see Jasmine Jones, Grace Stark, and then Aaliyah Armstrong. I mean, Aaliyah Armstrong, she's also dealt with some injuries and some setbacks. And we can never forget that Aaliyah Armstrong finished fourth place at the 2022 World Outdoor Championships. In that legendary field, she finished fourth place. So she is very much one who's always needs to be in the conversation. Yes, she finished third place here. She ran 7.94, so nothing too crazy. But she is definitely a strong, strong contender for, you know, being in the mix in terms of the hurdle. So really excited to see what these women do when we're talking about outdoors in the 100-meter hurdles. All right, so let's get to a couple other quick results. Actually, the main one, so women's 4x4, I think this was a little surprise-ish. We saw that Arkansas, of course, were the clear favorites. They won, but then they were disqualified. Actually, while we were at the track, I think Arkansas was celebrating their win in terms of the team title for the women, but then they found out they were disqualified. Luckily, it didn't change like the points or anything like that, but South Carolina, they ended up getting the win here. So amazing performance. Oh, there was one thing I forgot. I'll come back to it, but amazing performance there. And the men's 4x4, nothing too crazy in terms of times or anything like that. 3:02, Arizona State, really strong performance for them. Texas Tech eventually did get the win in terms of the team title. So great performances across the board for all of them. The two events I did want to talk about in the fields are, first off, Wayne Pinnock in the long jump. This was a really great performance from Wayne Pinnock. Competes for Arkansas, competes for Jamaica, 8.40 meters in the long jump. This means a lot for Wayne Pinnock. So he ties the Jamaican indoor record in the long jump. He ties it with Kerry McLeod. So Kerry McLeod also competed for Arkansas. He set the record last year, jumping 8.40 meters. Wayne Pinnock now ties that record. We already know that Wayne Pinnock has a silver medal from the World Outdoor Championships last year. Kerry McLeod has a bronze medal from the World Indoor Championships just 2 weeks ago. And he also finished fourth place at the World Outdoor Championships. Jamaica is making their mark. They're setting their mark in the long jump when talking about the event. So just to kind of put things in perspective when talking about the long jump, all time, if I'm correct, Jamaica doesn't have many. I actually think that, yeah, we'd have to go back to 1996 with James Beckford. And 1996 was the last time that Jamaica got a medal in the long jump in the Olympic Games. 1996. They have not had a medal at all, any medal, gold, silver, bronze in the long jump. They've never had a medal since 1996. And even prior to that, I don't even think they ever got a medal prior to that. So the one single medal, it's very possible that between Wayne Pinnock, between Kerry McLeod, between Tajay Gale, could we see Jamaica get 3 medals? Now, I'm not saying they're going to sweep the podium. You have Tentaglu, right? You also have, I forget his name, Matia from, if I'm remembering correctly, let me bring up. You have, yes, Matia Ferlani, right? You have those two. They are very, very strong. But Jamaica, they have 3 strong contenders right now. Could be a very, very strong problem. Additionally, at the World Championships, last year they, of course, got the 2. So who knows? They already got 2 medals. Jamaica could be a problem. Jamaica could be a problem when talking about the long jump. And Wayne Pinnock, with his performance at NCAA's, was a defining moment there. So huge shout outs to Pinnock for what he did here. Shout out to Jeremiah Davis. He's been super humble. He definitely wanted to win, but he spoke about after his competition that that consistency is there. He's really fighting for, something big. So we're going to see he's kind of been, it's just been a little unlucky as the men's long jump has been super consistent in the NCAA the past couple seasons. So Jeremiah Davis just hasn't been able to get that indoor title. But huge shout outs to Wayne Pinnock and what he did. 8.4 is no joke. So no joke. And then the last event I wanted to talk about here was the women's high jump. Very quickly, as we did see a slight upset in the high jump. Let me pull up the women's high jump here. Yeah, slight upset where Lamar Diston, she was the NCAA champion. I'm sorry, the NCAA leader and the NCAA record holder, which he set at SEC championships just 2 weeks prior. She jumped 2 meters, but a little bit of an upset. Rachel Glenn from Arkansas, she managed to jump 2 meters. It's a little bit of an upset, but Rachel Glenn had been dealing with some injuries, with some setbacks. She had been one of the consistent jumpers, and she probably was the only one who can truly beat Diston, and she was able to do that here. But I think this is going to bode well for both of them. Lamar Diston is already a Commonwealth Games champion from 2022, competing for Jamaica. Rachel Glenn, she's dealt with some injuries, so we're going to see how things pan out outdoors, but really love to see a couple women in the NCAA jumping 2 meters. I remember, at least when I first started getting into the sport, there was Destiny Hooker. I think it's Destiny Hooker in the high jump at the 2009 NCAA Indoor Championships. She broke the NCAA record, jumping 1.9. Is it 1.9? Yes, 1.98 meters. Yes, remembered it. So 1.98 meters, Destiny Hooker. So if you remember, she's a sister of Marcia Vett Hooker, who was a very strong sprinter. Destiny Hooker actually went on to play volleyball and compete at the Olympics multiple times over. But I remember this performance. This was like the first year that I was truly watching the sport, like 2008, 2009. So for 2 women to now surpass that mark, go 2 meters, this was an amazing performance. Amazing performance. So shout out to Rachel Glenn and Lamar Diston. Hopefully they're able to be competitive with some of the other women as we do go outdoors. Yeah, shout out to Destiny Hooker, right? Texas Longhorn legend, Hall of Fame in USATF and UT Athletics. Yeah, she is, if I'm correct, I don't know if she got a medal at the Olympic Games in volleyball. I'm not sure if she got a medal with the team. Yeah, she did. 2012, she got a silver medal in team volleyball. So Destiny Hooker, she did her thing in track, left, went to volleyball, and of course she did amazing things. So huge shout outs to Destiny Hooker. Again, that was around the time that I got into the sport. So I remember Destiny Hooker, at least got into following the sport. So I remember Destiny Hooker very well. All right. So the other thing I did forget, and then I'm going to get to some comments to kind of close out. The other thing I did forget was in the men's 400, I wanted to give a huge shout out to the second place Ahmad Robinson. 44.91 seconds. And apologies, jumping back to the 400. Ahmad Robinson, 44.91 seconds for second place in this race. Ahmad Robinson, I think, though, it was a slight surprise, and even he was a little bit surprised. You can go on to Sidious Mag's YouTube channel and to see the interview we did with Ahmad Robinson. He was a little bit surprised. He didn't expect to run 44 seconds. If you remember in this race, they went around, I think, the first 200. Let me see if I could bring up the splits here. Section 1 splits. They ran 21 flat, which is insane, right? 21 flat for the first 200 is insane. And Ahmad Robinson, when he looked back in the race, I mean, he ran 21.5, but 21.25. He was like, yo, we were going way too fast, but he held on. And what's super important is that coming into this meet, I think his best was 45. I think he had run 45.6 was his best. So 45.6. Oh no, that's outdoors. Indoors, he had run 45.66. So, he made a huge drop. You're talking about 0.7 of a second off his personal best to run 44.91. But, and yeah, right, from SECs, he only ran, just bringing up your comment, follow the light, right? Ahmad had one of the best bounce backs from SECs. He ran 46.31. But what I don't think people remember is that this wasn't too much of a surprise for Ahmad. So I'm going to bring up let me see if I could bring this up very quickly here. At the 2022, I think I'm going to cross check here. I'm going to see if I can bring this up, but actually, I think I'm going to be able to cross check this here with his career. I think it was the 2021 NCAA Outdoor Championships. All right, so 2021 NCAA Outdoor Championships. Let me show you what Ahmad ran at this in the 4x4 at the NCAA Outdoor Championships. This was no fluke. That 44.91 was no fluke for Ahmad. At these championships in the final, so he competed for Stephen F. Austin before he transferred to USC. And I'm sorry, to Texas A&M. Apologies. He competed for Stephen F. Austin first, and then he transferred to Texas A&M. Stephen F. Austin finished second place at the NCAA Outdoor Championships behind North Carolina A&T. They ran 3:01.52 seconds. If we look at these splits, look at the splits. Anchor leg, let me get the names first just so we could see. Stephen F. Austin, anchor leg, Ahmad Robinson, same guy. What did he split? He split 43.45 seconds. 43.45 seconds. He had the fastest split of the day at this meet. This was no fluke. The fact that he ran 44.91, he already had that promise. He already had that potential to be able to run that fast, considering his split here, 43.45, back when he was a sophomore 2 years ago at Stephen F. Austin. So even though he was surprised, even though I was surprised, I was probably a little more surprised with this performance than I was with Christopher Morales-Williams. But this was a long time coming. So huge shout out to Ahmad Robinson for him to be able to drop this time here. Similar to like Chekna in the 200 from Penn State, I think Ahmad Robinson has a huge future ahead of him when talking about the 400 meters. Follow light, right? I remember this race like it was yesterday. After he ran that split, he transferred ASAP. Yeah, he was like, yo, let me not say I was about to downplay like Stephen F. Austin, but he was like, yo, I need to move up to like like quote unquote real D1 in a sense, right? Let me get into that SEC. Let me get into the big leagues or whatever. But yeah, huge shout outs to what he was able to do. And then I think if I'm gonna, again, I'm always like cross checking these random results, but 44.91 is the second fastest non-winning time in history. Obviously they don't have it here, crazy. But it's the second fastest non-winning time in history. The only time that was faster that didn't win an indoor 400 was Akeem Bloomfield, who ran behind Michael Norman's world record back in 2018. Akeem Bloomfield ran 44.86. That was behind Michael Norman's 44.52. Now, Ahmad Robinson, he ran 44.91, just behind Christopher Morales-Williams, 44, where is it at? That's all time, my bad. Just behind Christopher Morales-Williams, 44.67. So huge shout outs to Ahmad Robinson. That was an immaculate performance for him when talking about the 400. All right, so those are some of the highlights. I always say it's really quick. We took like an hour, but gonna just get through some of these comments just to to close out. And anything, let me know if there was any other like major performances that I might have missed that I thought were like really dope. Actual random, 21 seconds is crazy, even outdoors, faster than Michael Johnson's outdoors on world record pace. Absolutely. And that's why when I saw that, like Follow the Light said, right, the clock came up at 20.99. Like, I was like, yo, it was crazy. Like, I was like, yo, they're not going to run anything fast, right? Like, they're going to die. They're going to die in that second half. You can't go out in 21 seconds flat. You're going to die, but they did it. So that's even gives me more potential and more kind of optimism about what is possible for Morales-Williams outdoors. I think he's going to be a very, very strong force. So let me get to a couple of the other comments I might have missed before we close out. Going back to the Norman and Gardner situation. So Sheldon, right? Let's put this in perspective. Gardner ran 43.48 after running 2 rounds. Norman's time was a one-off race. That's a good point, right? That speaks to a lot of the athletes, right? When we're talking about all time, you have LaShawn Merritt, you have Jeremy Warner, you have Michael Norman. I'm sorry, not Michael Norman. Stephen Gardner, Wade Van Niekerk, LaShawn Merritt, Jeremy Warner, right? You're talking about guys who have run 43 seconds after multiple rounds, right? Jeremy Warner, 2007 at the World Championships, ran 43.45 after multiple rounds. LaShawn Merritt, 2008, or actually 2008, 2015, multiple times. LaShawn Merritt did it 43 seconds, 2016, et cetera, et cetera. He's done it multiple times. Wade Van Niekerk, of course, his world record in 2016, as well as, 2017. He jogged 43 seconds through the line at the London World Championships because he was doing the double. And then, of course, Stephen Gardner in 2019. Even in 2021 at the Olympic Games, Stephen Gardner was able to run 43 seconds, 43.8, I think it was, at the Olympics after multiple rounds. So yes, it's fair that Michael Norman has yet to do that. But again, if healthy, it's going to be hard for me to say that Michael Norman can't get on the podium, can't run 43 seconds, right? He's back with Quincy Watts, from the slight stints that he had off. Hopefully he's healthy. He's focusing on the 400. We're going to see if he's able to really, really translate that into a medal. I know he wants an Olympic medal, right? He really, really wants an Olympic medal. So yeah, we're going to see. Logan, shout out to you. I grew up racing 55 and 60 with Johnny, and also long jump. Yeah, Johnny Brackens, again, he's been a double threat at NCAAs for years. So really, really dope that you got to get the chance to race with him a couple times when you were growing up. But yeah, huge shout outs to all the guys. All right, so yeah, we're probably going to close out here. Excited to jump into the outdoor season. Just to give like some updates, I'm working on a couple videos. I'm probably going to start releasing just videos maybe once a week, but more in-depth videos to give you all context on different stories. But of course, I'm always going to be on the ground at various different meets. If you're not already, check out Sidious Mag. You're always going to find my stuff on Sidious Mag in terms of interviews, in terms of various pieces of content. So definitely be sure to subscribe across YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the platforms on Sidious Mag. And then, of course, here, I'm thinking of potentially doing a bracket. I know we have, maybe through March, I might do another bracket I might do another bracket. Maybe, I don't know. I'll put a poll up to see like a bracket that might be good. Of course, I know y'all loved the brackets I did in the winter time, before the indoor season started. So I might do another bracket, maybe of the 100-meter guys specifically for this year, right? Who are the top 100-meter guys for this year? Might be a good kind of bracket to see. Noah Lyles, Christian Coleman, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, not by might be a thing. Melanie, let me get to yours. So why did Arkansas get disqualified? Somebody stepped on the line. So on the first leg, it was like a lane violation. So yeah, they got disqualified, lane violation for the 4x4. It was really unfortunate because they had been doing, it was going to cap off like their team title win. But yeah, they had that lane violation. Actually, let me just show you right here. So Arkansas here, they got DQ'd and yeah, stepped over the lane. So yeah, it was just a lane violation. Someone stepped on the line, unfortunately. So that was kind of disappointing, but yeah. All right. So appreciate y'all again. Check out the community tab. I'm going to put a couple things up on the community tab. As always, subscribe to Sidious Mag. I'm going to be traveling out next week somewhere. Maybe while I'm there, I'll post some things. I'll post some things. We're going to see. Next week is the biggest high school championship in the world. The next sub 10 junior expected. Keep a lookout. Yeah, keep a lookout. It's going to be crazy. Yes. One last thing. The Jamaican men ruled the shot put. Yes. They threw down at the World Championships. I apologize. Was it Virginia Campbell? I forget. Apologies who I'm forgetting who won the shot put or who did really well in the shot put. I forget exactly. But shout out to Jamaica. They're doing some great things. Always stay tuned. And yeah. All right. Appreciate y'all. And we'll be back again next time. Thanks.